Good evening and welcome to episode 19 of the Jacksonian. As I have with me are the co-host of Oregon Football at the Voice of College Football, Ben from Exploring with Ben and Sam, Spaz, aka the Rocky Classic, the Dallas Cowboy Trailblazer Oregon Donald Duck himself. And we got Mr. Derek, who is the Seattle Seahawk Oregon Donald Duck as well. He's got pretty cool tattoo, man. He's got pretty cool tattoo, man.
And the fake Wisconsin guy too.
Oh, sweet. That he is pretty awesome at that, and pretty awesome Wisconsin guy. And tonight we're going to be going over some of the topics like the reaction of Oregon State in what could be the final edition of the Civil War, unless there's more. And then we're going to be going over the preview of the Pac-12 title game, amongst other topics. Gentlemen, how you doing tonight?
Doing great.
Can't complain tonight here.
We got
conference championship to look forward to tomorrow night. You know, who can complain about that? I'm stoked to be here.
I'm trying not to be too excited. I have to wait till tomorrow still.
I'll just Ben.
Oh, it's gonna be a fun one. Ben, would you like to tell a little bit about yourself to the audience?
Well, as you cleared, co-hosting with these guys and our other guy Sean, who's busy right now, but the weekly Oregon show on the Voice of College Football channel for Mark Rogers, as well as the post games, and then primary host, I guess, of the After Dark show on Sunday night on the Voice of College Football main channel, and then me and Sam here have this little Exploring with Ben and Sam channel right here on YouTube, where we do urbex and stuff like that. So it's not sports related, but always worth a look, hopefully.
There we go. It's pretty fun, man. I always look forward to that. You know, I kind of wonder if CFB After Dark is the best post-game show since college football final with Reese Davis and Mark May and Lou Holtz.
I missed that show. I missed that show, actually. Especially when they just get on a rant at each other.
Oh, man, I love those little court battles. Love those little court battles they have at the end of the show. That's the funniest one right there. Quackatat, would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
I am the vintage quacker. I am from the Quackland, born and raised down there, and now I live just a little north of Portland, and I decided to jump on with these yahoos this year to try out some new podcasting shows, and kind of liking it.
There you go. Well, how's your experience so far? Are you liking it?
Yeah, it's been a fun experience. I enjoy with Derek and Sam and Sean or Ben, Sean sometimes, and when he's able to show, we have a good time. I enjoy the Sunday After Dark show as well. I missed my my Trojan hero lately. It's been kind of sad without Tim, nobody to steer the pot and ruffle his feathers. So I'm kind of taking some of the luster out of the Sunday night show. I enjoy some of the Trojan throttling that's been happening this year, and I think he's had enough. I think he crawled under his bed now, and I don't think we'll see Mr. Prangley for a while.
I think we will. I think we're going to see Mr. Prangley pretty soon. Derek, should I tell the audience a little bit about yourself, man?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm just I'm a Midwest guy. I'm from Wisconsin, Big Ten country, very familiar with it. Heading into next year. I'm currently living in Southern California, not too far away from Pasadena. So hoping the Ducks can make the Rose Bowl. Might have to make a trip just up the highway and see the boys if they can pull through tomorrow. But yeah, as these guys talked about, first year co-hosting the podcast with these guys. Been a great time. Love talking Oregon football.
Oh man, there's nothing better than talking a little college football, especially for a living, man. It's pretty awesome.
Oh
Can't get
no,
any
sir,
better than
nothing
that.
better.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, I'm going to start things off with your reaction to the 2023 edition of the Civil War, or sometimes I like to call it the Gravity Falls Bowl between the Oregon Donald Ducks and the Oregon State Beavers. What was your reaction when watching that, gents?
Compared to last year, just beautiful. Compared to last year.
Yeah, I'm
Sweet.
with Ben. It was much sweeter to watch this year than the last couple of years. This team is much, as I've said numerous times on both the Oregon shows and the After Dark show. I just can't wait. Once tomorrow's done, hopefully it's a victory, and then I want to taste that Michigan blood because been listening to those guys yak all year, and I'm just ready to put a stomp kicking on their JJ McCarthy for Heisman. And yeah, please miss me with that bullshit. You're in the Big Ten. When was the last time a Big Ten quarterback won a Heisman? Yeah. Sorry, go blue, Mike Fort, all you guys, John. You guys are delusional. You've been delusional for 50 years. At least here in Eugene, we know that the chances are slim to nil, but we at least try to do a reality show, not a fantasy show.
Oh man, I can't wait for. Oh man, I'm gonna catch my breath for a little bit, but he's got me laughing.
That's 2 shows in a row. Spaz have gone all riled up about this stuff.
Oh man, well, I think you'll get your crack at them next year in the Big Ten. That's gonna be pretty fun.
Yeah, we get to go back to Ann Arbor. Last time we were there was 2007 with Dennis Dixon, and he did the famous Charles Woodson pose in the Michigan end zone. It was just beautiful. Hopefully, we get to do that again. Who the quarterback will be? It's anybody's guess.
Yeah, Sports Talk with Austin says Tim is recovering. LOL. It's been a long year. It's spoiling with Ben and Sam. Certain somebody I know. Pretty cool dude. It was a long year for the Trojans. Yes, it has been. Good grief. It's been a long year. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Oregon, Michigan. Like, I cannot wait for that to be a conference game. I remember watching that game as a little boy on ABC, like on the highlights. I remember like Brad Nessler was calling that game. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for some of these new matchups that are going to start taking place. You know, I mean, obviously it's cool when some of these historic programs come to Autzen, but I'm equally as excited to hit the road and, see Oregon into the big house, into Happy Valley. I mean, obviously we got a taste of the horseshoe. I'm a little bit biased, but I can't wait to see him hit Camp Randall. So yeah, I'm really excited for some of these matchups in the years to come.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun seeing a Michigan, Washington, and an Oregon, Ohio State game. That's going to be fun. But I will wonder, though, if we'll see Oregon, Washington on Black Friday next year. That'd be cool.
Very good possibility.
It only makes sense. The one protected rivalry they have. Why not during rivalry week?
That would be pretty cool. Oregon, Ohio State, the rematch we never got. Oh, we're gonna see that next year. I know that. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, September.
Yep, that's October 12th, I believe. For right now,
it might be October. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the September schedule is set for now. Although Spaz or Quack Attack, sorry about that.
It's all good.
I don't want your identity getting messed up. But yeah, Quack Attack you or your friend said something the other day about there possibly being Oregon State matchups in the future, like Washington State. Will that still happen?
Yeah, I think so. It's just a matter of moving some things around and some scheduling. And I think once we get past all the championship week stuff and whatnot, I think in the next couple of weeks you'll probably see some kind of announcement coming out from both schools. Hopefully, it'll continue into next year. You may see a year off. We may not have it next year, but I do believe there's a couple of schools that are working on switching some schedules around so they can open up a spot for Oregon to continue the rivalry early in the season, probably be late September instead of late November, which is kind of takes a little bit of the luster out of it. But if you still have it, you still have it. And that's what I want to continue with.
So what I have pulled up is the 2024 Oregon football schedule. Now there's some talk that I believe that there might be like the Oregon Boise State game might get moved because it's obvious they're not moving Oregon Hawaii out of week 0.
No, moving week 0, you would screw up a lot of schedules. The other one is Texas Tech is actually talking. They're willing to swap the home and home 1 year with Washington State. So they would still come to Oregon as planned, but they would skip a year. So that way we could open that spot up. But that's all in the talk still.
True. And I'm looking at the 2025 schedule. What about the road trip to Boise State and the home trip for Oklahoma State? What's going to happen to one of those games? Because, I mean, I want that Montana State game to go away, but let's be honest, we know that's not going to happen.
I think you're more likely to see Oregon buy out of the Boise.
Yeah.
Like outright buy out of that one because the Oklahoma State one, it's set for home and home also. Mm-hmm. Although Boise, I think we're on 3 years in a row. I think home at and then home again. I think, if I'm not mistaken, actually with the Boise for some reason.
So you're saying we might have them in 26 as well?
Yeah, I think so. It was some weird. We had some weird schedule with them or something. I can't recall if it was 26 also. Yep.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So maybe it's probably easiest to buy out of 2 years of Boise State or move them around like they've been talking about.
Or buy out that Portland State again.
No, we need Portland State on there. As we saw week 1 this year, that's a great kickstart to the season.
26 is not easy. Boise State, then at Oklahoma State, and then have something else, and then at Illinois. So imagine you put the Beavers there or something like that. It'd be like, oh, yeah.
How about make that Portland State game your spring game?
Yeah.
Might as well.
Exactly.
Like, make that your spring game and replace them with Oregon State.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that we're even having this conversation already at this point after, it's been pretty well established that, the rivalry's ending. Everybody's been up in arms about that for the last couple months there. But, the Apple Cup, Washington and Wazoo, I feel like they really got it kick-started. Obviously, all 4 parties to some extent were talking about how they wanted to continue these historic rivalries, which, it's cool. It benefits both teams on each side of the rivalry, really. So it's just the fact that we're here having this conversation still here in 2023 tells me, I don't know if we're going to see it next year. We may have a year off just because, we are getting into crunch time with, scheduling. It does help that Oregon State's kind of navigating their scheduling issues with the Mountain West and, however else they decide to navigate their current situation. But I think we're going to see it again. Like I said, it may be a year off, but sooner rather than later, we're going to have this rivalry back. And I'm going to guess it's going to be here to stay, another year in, year out type of deal. Similar to something like Georgia and Georgia Tech, they're playing every year. Something like that, I'm going to assume is going to happen.
Or, Alabama, Chattanooga.
You got me there.
Shot fired.
Got to have the max.
Well, if I had it my way, we wouldn't be playing those cupcake games, but that's just me now. Like I'd be making sure we're scheduling like a blue blood. Like I want to look like the 1978 non-con schedule, where we had like USC, Nebraska, Missouri. I believe Miami was on there, but I know Washington was on there. So
Just gauntlet.
Yeah.
hey, I like gauntlet non-con schedules. I mean,
Bama, their non-con schedule next year isn't complete trash. You know, they play
Yeah.
Wisconsin early in the year, which I mean, it's not.
I'm
I
so
expected.
excited about that. It's like I hope to go to the jump around next year.
It's really cool. It's really cool to be in an atmosphere like that.
Well, maybe they'll put it on CBS. That'll be cool because I know Gary Danielson and Brad Nessler get excited about calling Bama games. So maybe they'll go back to Wisconsin for that. Just be like, hey, we got that TV contract with Big Ten, but let's have a little reunion with Bama.
Mm-hmm.
We're not calling
Gary
Ohio State
Danielson,
and Indiana. Go ahead.
I think Danielson has a hard on for Alabama games. I swear.
He does.
Sports Talk with Austin says, I can't wait for the Iowa-Oregon matchup. Oh, man, that Iowa's going to get spanked.
See, it's ironic that this is a comment right now on our Tuesday show. I pitched this very question to the boys, and I said, just hypothetically speaking here, if we played Iowa right now, how would that play out? Iowa, their only card is their defense, which is cool, but I may be a homer, but I think Bo Nix and company did put up some points still. I don't think, they're going to completely stifle the Oregon offense. And then in terms of the Iowa offense, if you call it that, if they touch Pater one time, I would be shocked. So I don't know. I'm excited for these types of matchups for sure.
Gonna have to wait for that Iowa until 2025.
I know, man.
So if we don't play them next year.
Oh, that'll be fun in Connect Stadium. But yeah, Sports Talk with Austin has a question for all of us. If Oregon makes the college football playoff, who do you think they match up better with?
Personally, I think they match up better with Michigan than they do with anybody right now at this point. I think I'd rather see 2-3 Oregon Michigan than a 1-4 Oregon Georgia.
And then also, are you thinking of, is it going to be Texas, Florida State, or potentially chaos with Alabama? So you have to add those three, because FSU, I think Oregon would roll over. Michigan is probably the best matchup. Georgia, that would be a close one. Bama, same thing. Texas, I'm kind of same thing. I'm kind of split on who knows.
I think we'd stomp roll Texas, but I think that Georgia just always scares me.
It's this time of year.
I like how it says keep doubting Michigan. All we said is that would be our best matchup. That's all we said.
Well,
that's all I said, anyways.
One of the best Michigan man ever, Moose. He is one of the best there is, man. He is awesome.
Yeah, that is no saying.
Danny, you're just fake, Moose. You guys are fake, man. You're frauds. You're in the Big Ten. You beat Ohio State by 6 points. Ooh, congratulations! The only real win you have of the entire year.
Spaz just wants all the smoke with everybody. I swear to Lord, Spaz comes on these shows and he is ready to just hash it out with whoever wants the smoke.
Yeah.
I'm the one who gets angry emails from Mark, so I don't want to get those. So I have to try to stay as neutral as possible.
I don't get no angry emails from Mark. I just told him
Moose says, I hope we draw. Well, I will say Michigan Oregon is going to be a great game.
Me too, Moose. Because then we can put a smoke to your fire and put your flame out, because you guys are frauds, man. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure what smoke to the fire means, but
yeah,
I'm not sure what that means.
I don't think that Michigan's the same team that they are from last year where they fell apart against TCU. And they're certainly not that same team that got spanked by Georgia. I think, honestly, well, because that little offseason thing where they had the beat Georgia, kind of like how they had the beat Ohio State banner, they got the beat Georgia banner for practice. They told the players, we got to focus on beating everybody. And I think Michigan could win a playoff game, honestly. I mean, they can get the job done. I mean, tremendous team they got. I mean, I'm kind of feeling like Sharon Moore is your next Brian Day if Harbaugh decides to leave for the NFL. I mean, that's what I'm thinking could happen. But I will say what went right and what went wrong in the matchup against Washington earlier in the season.
Be bad fourth down play calls. That's literally probably about it. I mean, in the sense of it.
Yeah, I'm getting some Mario. I don't think that there's any like Mario Cristobal vibes, but I think it was just from that one play call. But I will say, I do like a coach that can take chances.
Yeah.
You can go ahead, Spaz.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, those types of play calls, they're highly controversial, and it's always easier in hindsight to look back at it and say, oh, we should have kicked the field goal here. Oh, we should have punted it here. Oh, we should have gone for it in this situation. It's so much easier once the result of the play happens in the path that you choose.
Well, that's why I said play call, because the decision to go for it was correct. But it was just, even Stein and him said, it was just a play call. It wasn't the decision to go for. It was just the play call that they made. It was not the right one. So that was more what I meant. I like the go for it. I love the aggressiveness. I like that.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's everybody's biggest thing right now is, this 2 years in a row, the aggression has costed them a game in a sense. Really, I have no argument to that. It really has, in hindsight. However, if I had the opportunity to go back, I would still be on his side and say, let's go for it on fourth down here. Let's try to put this game away. Let's try to ice it. I don't mind those play calls whatsoever. I can accept with it. I can live and die with the aggression, because if those things happen and they work, everybody's looking at this man like, oh, he's got big balls. He's a great aggressive coach. Like, this is exactly who you want to lead your program. But, two of those plays don't work out, cost you a game. All of a sudden we're looking at them in a very different light.
Yeah, because you have to recall too. I mean, even before missing the 2 fourth downs in the 10-yard line, the fourth and goals, they still on the third fourth down attempt could have iced the game right then and there. It would have been over. We would have won by 4.
Yeah, at that point, we were outgaining them by, once the game was all said and done, we outgained them by 100 yards, moving the ball on the ground with ease. It was. I don't mind it. We got beat. It is what it is. I can accept that. I have a feeling tomorrow's going to be a different result. Maybe that's just arrogance. Maybe it's just false confidence. But I'm ready for round 2.
It'll be fun, that's for sure. Sports Talk with Austin has a question for us. I don't want to scare Oregon fans. Is there a chance that they get left out if they win their conference title, especially if Georgia and Ohio State is the teams left in front of you? To clarify, Georgia and Ohio State both have 1 loss.
But Ohio State is not in front of us. They're behind us.
See,
they don't play.
And they don't play.
I think if the committee were going to go that route and it's going to come down to a 1-loss type of deal, they would have put Ohio State in front, the best 1-loss team in the country right off the bat, just because that kind of eliminates any frustration from really any fan base. Because then you have an excuse. You can look back and say, nope, this is how we ranked it. We showed you this 2 weeks ago. This is how this was going to play out, and it did.
The fans who should be afraid is Texas. They're behind Oregon
and Ohio State,
and they still can win, but we're going against the number 3 team. They're playing the number what is Oklahoma State now, 18, 19,
23, I mean.
So they are not going to jump an Oregon team that avenges a loss against the number 3 team. So Oregon or
Well-
Texas fans are the ones who have the most to worry about.
Well, there's two things that Texas has that you guys don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Their big win over Alabama and Tuscaloosa. And two, they beat Texas by 50 points. You guys beat them by 8. Does that hurt you in any way, shape, or form if Oregon and Texas are both the conference champs by the end of Saturday?
No, it doesn't, because both of those games were in September. We're in November. Irrelevancy, different quarterbacks, different players, different people even playing in those games.
We traveled across the country. They had them at home, for instance. That's a big difference.
Yeah, I'll just point out the fact that once again, I'll just take it back to the committee. The committee has been showing us for the last 4 weeks consecutively now, without fail, who they prefer as their favorite one-loss team. Now, if this was going to become an issue, I have a feeling the committee, you kind of look out. We've been anticipating an Oregon-Washington rematch for weeks on end. You know damn well the committee's had that on their mind. Same with Texas. They once they got past the Oklahoma game, they pretty much had to walk in the park to the Big 12 championship. Likely going to happen. I think they understand that Oklahoma State's most likely not going to come out on top in that situation. But once again, I feel like they would have started putting Texas in front of Oregon, which would have made a ton of sense. But now that we're hitting this point where they're consecutively ranking Texas behind Oregon, and the Oregon's going to go have a significantly better win this weekend, it just wouldn't make a lot of sense to have that team then jump Oregon, punishing them after they just had their best win of the year, the number 3 team in the country. So, I mean, I see it. I get it. And to answer the question, I think there is a chance they miss. Yes. I'm not saying it's a good chance. I think if Oregon wins, in my opinion, it's a win and in situation. That's my opinion. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand on the situation. I think if they take care of business tomorrow, everything else in Oregon's favor at least is going to play out for itself.
Well, I will say whoever gets left out, I'll definitely pit them to win their bowl game. That's for sure. Because, I mean, they're going to show that committee, hey, you guys shouldn't have left us out. We're going to show you why. How about sit at the 50-yard line?
What if it was, for instance, just say everything holds pat,
Okay.
just even as is. Oregon loses, blah, 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 but the top 4 just stay the same. What if it came down to a Texas-Alabama Sugar Bowl rematch?
Oh, that'd be cool. Let's do it. I want a Texas Alabama rematch badly. I mean, I do.
That would be the Sugar Bowl, I believe, right? Or maybe the Cotton Bowl, depending on what the bowl games
Sugar
are.
Bowl, Rose Bowl, or the playoff games.
Okay, so maybe it would be Cotton Bowl then.
Cotton Bowl Classic from the 80s.
That was me. Let's do it. I mean, because I'm not gonna sit and wait for 2025. I mean, we could win it all, and I'm still gonna be upset we didn't get revenge against Texas. That's just me now.
It'll be worth it once it happens. I'm a firm believer in the horns down committee.
Well, I will say though, it's gonna be fun watching what happens this weekend. Is there any chance we see Bo Nix winning the Heisman? If the Oregon Donald Ducks win on Friday, will it help Bo Nix's chances in the Heisman?
100%. If Bo throws for 300 yards plus 3 touchdowns, runs one in maybe, and we win the game, it's solid. If he has a bad game and we get beat up, then it's probably Jaden Daniels's. But if we win and Bo has a solid game like he's had the last 12, then yeah, that's the difference with Bo and Jaden Daniels is Bo's been consistent all year. Jaden Daniels just runs up scores and stats to get to where he's at because his team's lost 3 games and they're not even playing for a conference title.
I mean, the fact that if LSU didn't even have Jaden Daniels, I mean, they would look like a 7-win team. I mean, it's just that
you could say the same with Oregon. Oregon without Bo Nix would be nowhere close to that. I think one of the problems that we talked about this too a lot on Tuesday was Bo Nix doesn't play near the amount of time and still puts up good stats, and they haven't had to run his numbers up. 2, he gets to play this weekend while Jaden Daniels sits at home. So he gets that final look from the Heisman voters. The one bad thing for him is the vote has to be in Monday morning. How many voters already put their votes in before conference championship weekend? And I even said they need to streamline that to actually the people who watch the games and get rid of like 70% of the voters who just look at stats.
Oh, it's Tuesday. Put my ballot in. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Because then Bo could come out this week, throw for 500 yards, 6 touchdowns, no picks, and run for 3. And they'd be like, oh, well, we already voted. Whoops. And that's like some people who say you should wait till after the national title to vote for a Heisman, because sometimes the race is really close. Like you look at Lamar Jackson, a lot of people had already nominated him, the thing, and then he lost the bowl. He was horrible for like the final couple games, lost his bowl game, and just like plummeted. But they'd already like nominated him the Heisman winner that year.
They should move the Heisman Trophy ceremony to like mid or late January.
Yeah, wait till the whole entire season's over.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to vote definitely at least before conference title games are done. Or something. You should have to wait, watch those, then decide. Because otherwise you may just have already had this preconceived notion. If you still vote for the other guy, then fine. But at least you had to wait.
Yeah. Because, I liked where they had... Because, even though 2020 was a pretty sucky season for, well, obvious reasons, I do like that they had the Heisman in January. And I'm like, every year should be like this.
And I think 2020, they got it right. 2020, I think they got it. They got the Heisman right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made sense. It felt right. But I don't know. This year... I really couldn't complain either way, to be real honest. What Jaden Daniels is doing is incredible. You just, subjectively looking at the stats, the man is having an absolutely incredible year, rushing for 1,000 yards on top of what he's doing through the air, whether it's against Army and Georgia Tech or Georgia Southern or whoever, it's impressive. I'll say that. So, when it shakes down to it, I'm not going to be mad either way. Obviously, I'm going to be a little upset just because I'm an Oregon fan. I understand that. If Jaden Daniels walks away with it, good on him. The man, he deserves it just as well. In Bo's case, what I do believe, though, is he needs to have a good game. I think Vegas is showing us that they believe the voters are going to vote in Bo Nix's favors. I think it's his award to lose, more or less. But, yeah, if he goes out there, throws for 350, 3 touchdowns, stays turnover free, leads his team to a conference title, college football playoff berth, I think it's going to be his come early December.
Yeah, and I don't speak poorly about Jaden Daniels' performances at all. Like everything he's done, and it's been really good. Really good. The one thing that kind of goes against him maybe is he does have a Blitnikoff potentially award-winning receiver. So sometimes that award is kind of take away from it. It's like when you have 2 Heisman contending people on the same team, they kind of draw votes away from each other. Well, Franklin just got snubbed from being a finalist, even though he has better stats than Marvin Harrison. But so he's out. So now it's really up to Nix. And I told these guys before, this feels like 2014. Oregon lost to Arizona. We lost to Washington this year. Now we're getting our revenge game with a win and you're in. And Mariota snagged the Heisman that game. And he just went off on Arizona in that game.
Man. I'm gonna be so excited to see the junior dog, Troy Franklin, Friday night. It's just, man.
Oh, yeah. Jackson, you ever get to check out those Ducks versus them videos?
Ducks versus what?
Ducks versus them. Their cinematic recaps they release every week.
Yeah, they're from the Go Ducks YouTube channel. They are phenomenal.
I got to be honest, that's the first time I've heard of that channel. That's pretty cool.
If you, I would highly, highly, highly recommend checking out some of them. My personal favorite's the Utah week. If you get yourself a moment, you should check those out. But It's in those videos they really take you inside the locker room and inside, team meetings throughout the week. You're able to hear like the headset calls and stuff, the communication in game between coaches and the on-field communicators. Really cool stuff. But what I'm getting at is I think Dan Lanning's going to have this team up and ready to roll come Friday. That is the ultimate motivator. Like I promise you, you will watch every one of these videos and be ready to throw on some pads yourself and run out there. It's some pretty incredible stuff.
They get you amped up, even if you're not an Oregon fan. If you watch it and then remember the game, you're like, gets you fired up. The way Lanning just goes about his business.
Yeah. Well, we got John D'Animo saying fraud here, chick. How you doing tonight, John D'Animo? How you doing, Johnny? Glad to see you, man.
Spaz, talking to you. I think he's talking to you, Spaz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quack Attack's been he's not too happy with Michigan at the moment. He's like, nope. How's it going, Johnny?
Just saying, Johnny. You guys, man, haven't really played much of anything this year, so I just don't believe Michigan. I believe they're a fraud. I believe they're playing off of last year still, and we're gonna find out hopefully on January 1st. I hope we get you guys, and if we lose, I'll be humble and say, hey, you guys were the better team. But if not, I'll be like, told you guys we're frauds.
I guess that's sarcasm. Yeah, Penn State and Ohio State should go to the MAC. Oh man, I used to be so bad at noticing sarcasm, but now I'm just like, I'd have been like, oh man. Like,
the problem is that you guys play the Big Ten. Yeah, we're gonna be there next year. The difference that I see is that Michigan just they cheat, they scam, you got sign stealers, you got it all, man. You guys are just the king USCs of the 2020s. Well, welcome to the fraud of USC in 2020. It's now called Michigan and Jim Harbaugh.
But like, what are the wins against Penn State and Ohio State prove to you exactly? They don't have Harbaugh. They did it without. They did it with Coach Sharon Moore.
Neither of those teams have a good quarterback.
Neither of those teams have a good quarterback. Exactly.
I will say that defensively they're good. They don't have a good quarterbacks. I'm pretty confident of that one.
I'll be the minority here, and I'm going to stick up for that comment. Both of those wins are better than any win we have on our schedule by far. So I'm going to leave it at that. Do with that information as you will, but that's what my beliefs are. Ohio State and Penn State are
scared of the Michigan boys. Don't be afraid.
Hey, I don't know. Oregon doesn't have to be afraid. What I'm saying is I'm going to give them their flowers. If they earned it, they earned it. And
hey, I didn't say they're not good wins. I said compared to the teams, those teams don't have good quarterbacks.
Well, and the other thing is that sure, Sharon Moore coached him, but come on, this is 2020, the year of the internet. Just like me right now in my living room with my laptop. You don't think Jim Harbaugh was, sending the plays from home? And what kind of a suspension is that? Oh, you could coach the team, prep the team all week, but Saturday morning you can't be on the sideline. That ain't no suspension. There ain't no suspension there. Oh, you're not playing the game. Oh, big deal. But I get to play all week, practice all week, and prep my team. There's no suspension in that.
But what do you think when like comedian Bill Burr called the Harbaugh allegations a ticky tack crap? What do you think about that, Quack Attack?
What, saying that they were ticky tack? Well, sure. I mean, in reality, they kind of were ticky tack. But I mean, what do you were cheating. You were going against the rules, and that's the way the rules are. The rules are the rules.
Well, let's see. Moose is wanting to know what your best win is. He says who's Oregon's best win? Oregon State. I would say Utah is looking like a good win. I mean, I know that Utah hasn't been 100% healthy, but I mean, you did end the winning streak in Rice Eccles.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Oregon is it's tough because, a team like Utah at the time looked like a phenomenal win. And I will still say at this very moment, the fashion that they went in there in Rice Eccles and did what they did, that's something that we don't see, regardless of if Utah's up or down. It's just not something we see in that environment. Kyle Whittingham coached team, typically a very well-prepared team, very physical, technically sound team. Oregon went in there and destroyed them. And, sure, they're not the powerhouse that they have been in years previous. That's no secret. And I'm not going to try to argue that I don't believe that to be true. It was a great win. With that being said, at this very moment, all sarcasm aside, I think Oregon State is their best victory currently. It was, albeit a drubbing, it was never a close game. It was never in question. It was dominance from start to finish. But in hindsight, you can only do with what's on your schedule. I think we see that with a lot of programs. It's a lot of, when people are talking shit to other programs, like, oh, you schedule cupcakes. But at the end of the day, you truly can only do with what's in front of you, So people want to talk about Alabama's out of conference schedule. Sure. It might not be tough most years. There are a ton of cupcakes on there typically, but what are they supposed to do? It's what's on the schedule. That's what they're doing in that moment. So
Well, that's what I have to say too. Is Oregon State might be technically the best win. You can look at the other teams and compare how they played against us. One is when we go in, we've taken care of business pretty handily. And that's what you're supposed to do if that team's not as good. You're supposed to beat them. And that's what Oregon has done very consistently this year, outside of obviously the Washington game, which we probably still should have won. Didn't, so it's still the L. The L, you have to admit, you have to take the results on the field. And then the Texas Tech game, probably. Because it was a whole different Texas Tech team and on the road. And the second game for this new O-line put together and a bunch of new players. And they still pulled it out.
Yeah, mind you, that's also Will Stein's second game. Trying to navigate this offense. So there were some moving parts in that game. It wasn't pretty. It was actually
it wasn't.
Victory.
I was there. Remember, I was there on the sidelines sweating it, just going, "Oh God."
But
we also beat a top ranked Colorado game when they came in. They were top 20. We beat a top 20 USC team when they came in. We beat a top 20 Washington State team when they came in. And we've won all of our road games but the Seattle game, which, like everybody has said, we should have won. And so I think in reality, sure, you could call all those, oh, well, USC has no defense and this and that, and Colorado was horrible. But at the time, they were still ranked. They were a top team, and winning on the road at Utah, that's got to be the best win of the year because you snapped a 17-game home winning streak or something like that. I know it was quite a few. So, I mean, sorry, we have more quality wins, in my opinion, than pretty much any other team that's in the top right now. And that's just
the difference. I think the difference this year with the Pack is unlike other years where we've always all just kind of beaten each other up for a couple losses. This year, you have seen the top two, just like you do in most conferences, stand out. Because you look at every other conference, if you really go through most of the other conferences, how many other conferences have 10, 11 win teams? The SEC has Bama, Missouri, Georgia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big Ten has, I guess Penn State has 10 wins, Ohio State, Michigan. Oh, and I'm sorry, Iowa. Somehow. Oh wait, because they never played most of the other teams. That's why.
Well,
Um,
I will say though, when it was announced that Oregon and Washington were both joining the Big Ten, what was the reaction of Oregon Donald Duck Nation when it happened?
Well, social media was thrilled for the most part. I mean, you have your old school fans, people who've been, fans of the program, fans of the pack for a long time that were obviously a little disheartened after it happened. Just because of kind of the history that was being done away with. But I think a lot of fans were equally excited for the future. I think everybody understands this means more opportunities. It opens up your recruitment a little bit more. You're able to play some of these historic programs, and as the years go on, it means more money for your program. It does a lot of positive things for the university. So I think the vast majority of people are excited and looking forward to it. But with that, you're always going to have those fans who are kind of holding on to the past a little bit and the nostalgia of what the pack used to be. But yeah, I think that was kind of the consensus.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tremendous seeing Oregon Washington on rivalry week next year. Hopefully, they put it on NBC. I mean, kind of like how they did with Penn State, Michigan State. But like, are we going to see Oregon on Black Friday every year? Kind of like how we did, this year and several times in years past.
Well,
they
when's that?
They might move it there if it's with Washington because of the load of the Big Ten. They might.
Yeah. Well, because next year, Oregon Washington's on rivalry week. And I don't think they want to upstage Ohio State, Michigan on Saturday with Oregon Washington. So maybe they can put Oregon Washington on Black Friday along with Iowa, Nebraska.
Maybe. I think I'm the same though as Derek. Like last year I was like the whole time with Connor, our Beaver resident, I was like, hashtag back the pack. Back the pack, like we're gonna figure this out, we're gonna save the conference. And then as soon as you kind of saw it going, yeah, it's not happening. And it was like, yeah, we're going to the Big Ten. After they got vetted the year before, I was like, well, goodbye, pack. Like, we tried. We were rooting for you. But
well, John D'Animo says Ohio State, Michigan had 19 million viewers, greatest rivalry in sports. Well, that's true. Ohio State, Michigan. I mean, it's one of my favorite rivalries in all college football. I mean, it's just there's so many memorable moments. Moose said it peaked at 22.9. Yes, it did. I mean, that was holy cow. It's pretty exciting. But yeah, so when Oregon joined the Big Ten, does that mean Dan Lanning's staying for good at Eugene? And you're not going to see him get any temptations, kind of like how we saw with Willie Taggart and Mario Time Cristobal?
No. Taggart was only there 1 year. Florida State was his dream job.
Yeah, Taggart was nah.
Mario went to his alma mater, like a lot of coaches do. So we couldn't even blame him to a degree. We were like, that makes sense. And at that time, we were kind of like, we'd like this guy to actually kind of go away. And the fact Oregon didn't even fight for him to keep him says just as much probably on the administration of like, go away. Lanning no coach ever does this. And Lanning came out and these guys will do the same thing. What did Jonathan Smith say when they asked him about his job? And he said, I have an agent for that. What did Lanning say? There is 0% chance I am leaving. I have no desire to go anywhere. I'm here. I have a lot of work to do. He was flat out like, mm-mm. And Oregon already gave him a contract extension. He gets to the playoffs this year. You can see that with the other money. They're going to probably up his contract again and pay him more to keep him there.
Yeah, I mean, why would you leave the place where Phil Knight owns? Well, he basically has Eugene, Oregon in a way. Because I mean, I wouldn't be leaving Phil Knight for College Station, Texas, where you can get fired at a moment's notice. I
Right.
mean, I'm not.
Lanning only owns up to the AD, the university president, and Phil Knight. A&M, he has a room of like 50 people yelling at him about stuff. You know?
Oh, and all the boosters that come along.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like all the boosters and like, hell no.
Playing
But
politics.
like, you know, I always think about this, but I remember there was a time where Oregon football wasn't this great football program. You know, they were, you know, kind of a disaster until Rich Brooks showed up. Had it not been for Phil Knight, do you think they would be in that same boat as Oregon State and Washington State, or no?
Probably.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Phil Knight really didn't start really investing money till what, 2005, 2006? That's when he really, or maybe early 2000s, when they first did the first uniform changeover. But that was after Rich Brooks. That was Mike Bellotti era. That's when Phil Knight actually came in with the uniforms and the real support. So
Yeah.
who knows? Because Mike Bellotti was already building it. But I think it would have been like an Oregon State 10 win here, maybe 11 a conference title, and then 5-7, 5-7, and have a off and on. Probably, quite possible.
Yeah, because I mean, had Phil Knight not been investing money in Oregon, I kind of feel like they'd have been winding up like Houston, SMU, and Rice in the 90s. And TCU. How could I forget TCU? Good grief.
Yeah, we all need to be grateful for Uncle Phil. I think, like you're kind of alluding to, if you take a look at the program, 80s, 90s, 70s.
The program.
The program, program guy around here. Yeah, we need to be absolutely grateful for what Phil's done to the program. Really been able to elevate it and continued to elevate it for the last 20 years, essentially, and kind of grown it into this, you know, up and coming monster, if you will. So yeah. We're thankful for Phil, because I don't want to be an Oregon State Beaver. You know, I think, you know, in an alternate universe, if Phil doesn't do this for the university, Oregon's probably sitting in the similar spot that Oregon State is come right now. So,
yeah, because I mean, I look back at one of the rivalry games from 1983 where Oregon and Oregon State had a 0-0 tie, and I was like,
the toilet bowl.
Oh Lord, it was just, oh man. Those were some rough days, I bet.
That was not a pleasant game. Someone just put out a highlight video. Someone said they just saw the highlights for the first time out of that game, and they were like,
"Oh God, yeah!
Oh my God!" I'm like, "Yeah, it was a 0-0 game. What did you think the highlights were going to look like?"
It was punt, fumble, interception, punt, fumble. Yeah, that game was embarrassing.
That's when we used to play defense.
I mean, imagine the people that bet money on Oregon State to beat the spread, because I saw where it was Oregon 13.5. I'm like, good God, if you bet on Oregon State, or if you bet the under on the points total, you probably won a lot of money that day.
Yeah, won't see a lot of games like that.
No, thank God there's not any ties either. But, you know, when looking at the Oregon or Washington matchup in the Pac-12 title game, what are the keys to victory for Oregon exactly?
I think it starts on the defensive side of the ball. Absolutely. You know, I think we all expect Bo Nix and the offense to kind of move down the field and be able to put some points up. I don't think that's any secret. I think what the key is going to be, however, is being able to, I won't even say shut down Washington's passing game, because I don't know if that's feasible with their excellent, you know, receiving core, but it's kind of minimizing those big plays. You know, Washington, they like to move in chunk yardage with Jalen Polk and obviously Roma Dunze on the outside. They're able to stretch the field a little bit. You know, Dylan Johnson's kind of come on as a running back this year, a little bit of a surprise for the Huskies. And obviously, you know, Michael Penix he's dangerous when he's healthy. If he's healthy, you know, that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, I think it starts in the defensive side of the ball. If that secondary can stay pat and, stick with their man, the front seven able to get a little bit of pressure, make Michael Penix uncomfortable, put a few hits on it, I think we'll be in a good spot.
Guacatat, you mentioned something the other day on Sunday night where you talked about how Michael Penix's rib is all messed up. How messed up is it exactly?
Well, we don't really know for 100% because they haven't really said anything. I was in a Twitter Spaces earlier today. I believe Derek was in there too.
Yep.
And they were talking about how next season in the Big Ten, they didn't know about other conferences, but in the Big Ten, you must turn in injury reports. There is no more, well, he might do, or we don't know, or he's fine. Yeah, you must turn in injury reports next year. And that's going to be a key in a lot of these games. But from everything I've seen and everything I've read and what I saw at the end of that game, Penix is hurt. He's been hurt since the Oregon game is one of the things I've also heard. And he hasn't gotten any better. And if you look at his stats and everything since that Oregon game, it would make sense. He took a vicious hit on third down at Washington State last Saturday, and it just kind of rocked him. And you could see on the sideline at the end of the game, it took 5 minutes before they were walking him off the field, holding his arm on top of it. So who knows what's really going on? I guess we won't really know until Friday.
Yeah, the best has been they've said flu, but it's like that flu doesn't last this long. Oh, they have it again. Like, come on. Then some insider said it is a broken rib, but is that what insider is that? That's like listening to someone says, I have the knowledge. It's like, well, from where? My guess is it's probably a bruised rib of some sort, most likely. And that's why you see him like opening up and the alleged injections he's getting for pain. Most likely it's probably some sort of bruising or something like that, but he's definitely not 100%. So if Oregon can not to injure him, no one ever wants to see a player get injured, but Oregon can rattle him a little bit on that with the D line and hit him a couple times. You could be talking a whole different game.
So now that we've kind of just gone over the keys to victory, so to speak, for each of you, what is your prediction for the 2023 Pac-12 title game? What's your score prediction?
I have these written down, guys, so don't you lie. I have them written down in front of me.
Well, Ben's keeping score on you, gents.
Well, I guess I'm starting it off. I believe I took a score of something around the ballpark of 38-30. I think my logic here was I think it's going to be a close game. I think the point spread is a little steep currently. I got to give Washington some respect at the same time. They're undefeated for a reason, Despite all the close games, they found a way to win. That's what the name of the game is. It's not about blowing your opponent out. It's about walking away with a dub at the end of the day. They've been able to do so. I'm going to go 38-30, though. I think Oregon's going to be able to have a little bit of an answer for Washington's offense. I think Michael Penix is going to stay on the trajectory he's been on the second half of the season, probably make some big throws, but I think eventually what's hindering him is going to come to the forefront. Oregon should be on their way to a Rose Bowl, hopefully.
Well, that'll be fun watching the Dawn Ducks go to Pasadena, California. I'm looking forward to it. But I will say, we know somebody that's going to be a little unhappy. That's going to be Ohio State, because I got a feeling they're pulling for Washington, because, I mean, they need Washington to win. They need Bama to lose, and they need Texas to lose, but they also need Florida State to lose. But as I always say, don't ever put yourself in a position where you need somebody to lose.
And that's not just I need one team to lose. They need a bunch of teams to lose.
Yeah. I mean, I have said a few times on The Voice College Football, whether it feels like the Ocho or After Dark, I was like, hey, just because Ohio State loses doesn't mean they're out of it. I mean, they're going to need some magic to happen. I mean, that's just the way it's going. The Quack Attack. What is your prediction, your score prediction for the 2023 Pac-12 title? And remember, Ben's keeping score on you.
Well, I'm going to be a little bit different than our Sunday night. I'm going to say 42.
What'd you say?
42-20 Oregon.
42-20. Wow. His ribs Michael Pence's ribs must be that bad. Good grief.
His actual score was 49-14.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm looking right at them. It's not like you can deny this. It's sitting there on the paper in front of me.
Ooh, 49-14. Good grief. You must really have a good feeling about where that Oregon defense is going to do to him.
Absolutely. I look back at 2014 when we lost to Arizona in the regular season and played them later in the Pac-12 title game and beat them like 52-13.
And that defense was not very good.
And that defense wasn't near as good as this defense.
There we go. And now we get to you, Ben. What is your score prediction for the 2023 edition of the Pac-12 Championship?
More optimistic than Derek, but not as extreme as Spaz. I do have 42-28 Oregon. So it covers the 9.5 or 10, depending on where you're looking. So it's a 14-point win. And I think the big thing is you have to look back. Now, again, these are different weeks, but you've seen the trajectory of the teams. How one plays and one has just been blowing everyone out. We were -3. We were a +3. So we're supposed to lose by 3 at Washington. At Washington. We lost by 3. This is neutral field. Even before that game and after that game, we were favored in a neutral side field. And it's only gotten bigger. So now there's not the home field advantage that Washington did have. So I do think that not making those couple little mistakes on the coaching error or the play call, and I think you could be seeing a huge, big difference in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be fun watching it. I'm just kind of like, I'm still just gonna kind of wait and see, because I mean, I only got a few hours to kind of wait, because it's just like, I don't want to jinx you guys. Let's be real. I'm not gonna do that. A certain somebody I know has now got me believing in that game day curse.
I would puke. I would absolutely puke if we lose the UW again tomorrow.
Oh man. Well,
There's no game day curse because game day's not here.
Yeah, that's true. There's no game day here. So I
Waiting for you.
Well, it kind of just but I don't think there'd be a Jacksonian curse. Thank God for that. No. There's not gonna be any of that in this place. But if 2023 isn't the year, according to John Diamo, he says 2024 is Oregon's year to strike, actually, because we are almost losing almost the whole offense. Ohio State losing Marvin Harrison Jr. and others. Where Moose says we're losing 17-20 to the draft. Not expecting Michigan to be competing for anything next season. And he also shows the betting odds for the college football playoff. Michigan, Oregon, Michigan, Bama, Michigan, Washington, Michigan, Florida State, according to the betting odds. Yeah. So that's where the betting odds are at the moment. But I know a friend of the show, Sports Talk with Austin, had a question for you guys. And this is about 2014 Oregon and 2023 Oregon, which team is better?
This year.
Oh, wow.
This year's much better. We have better offense. We have more offensive weapons. Defense is deeper. That was just the year of Marcus, and this year we're much better all the way around. We're more even, especially offensive. Most of our play calls are 50-50. It's run, pass, pass, run, pass, pass, run, 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 pass. Our offense just keeps the other defenses just totally off balance because they don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think this year's 2023 team is significantly deeper. I think this is the deepest Oregon team that I've seen in a very long time, if not ever in my fandom of Oregon football. I truly do trust a lot of these positions 2 and 3 deep. Yeah, the defense is the game changer, though. I think at the 2014 and the 2023 Oregon teams play, I think the defense would be the factor here. This is also probably the best defense we've had in at least the last 20 years, cohesively at least. So I like this year's team.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun team. But the team I always wonder most about? The 2007 Oregon team. Had Dennis Ditson not gotten hurt on Thursday night against Arizona on ESPN. Because, I'll be honest. There's Heisman Trophy written all over Mr. Ditson. And there is national title written all over that Oregon team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It was the curse of 2007 that most teams felt. It was the absolute curse.
You could just feel the pain in everyone's voices. that one was a tough one.
Yeah, because I remember asking myself, if I go back in time and change something from 07, that would be it right there. So that would be pretty cool.
And to not have a 2-loss LSU win the title.
What's going on with those Cowboys?
They just stopped the Hawks on 4th and 1.
Ooh. There we go. Well, they're
all mid.
Man, I'll definitely have to check on that in a little bit for sure. But I will say, as we wrap this show up, Sean says, "Hey guys, good luck tomorrow. I like to do the Buckeyes a favor and lose, though."
Get out of here, Sean.
Get out of here, Garner.
Sean, if I have to be miserable, at least someone gets to be happy. So,
well, that's how it goes, I guess. And we wrap this show up.
Watch the portal, guys. It's popping.
Yeah, I will say before we go, we know the ugly and the bad that happened in the summer for the Pac-12, but what was the good that came out of it exactly in this last season of the Pac?
You had a much more competitive conference this year, probably the most competitive conference in the nation, in my opinion. And it shows when was the last time you had 2 Pac teams in the top 5 and, 4 or 5 in the top 25 at the end of the year, literally end of the year. And one of them, whether it be Washington or Oregon, whoever wins this game is in. If they're not, the committee has completely lied to us all year long. But everything based on the way the committee has put these teams all year long, the winner of this game is going into the CFP. And that's pretty impressive when you've got 2 Pac-12 teams playing for a win into the CFP.
I will say that is pretty awesome right there. And, the playoff drought ends, but fortunately, there's a price. That is the sad part for that conference.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, on to bigger and better, I suppose.
True. Hey, Quack Attacks Cat. How you doing?
He's easy.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking. What are you thinking, Derek? Good and bad.
Me, the Pac-12 this season?
Yeah, I'm still thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think the good is it was a highly competitive conference this year. I mean, even I'm going to start at the bottom of the conference. Even teams like Stanford, Arizona State got a ranked win this year over a UCLA team, which that's pretty impressive for given the circumstances down in Tempe. Obviously early on in the season, the story of the year came out of Boulder, Colorado, with Coach Prime. Obviously, everybody in the nation got to see Coach Prime's hype train be derailed in Eugene. That was one of my highlights of the season personally. But I mean, aside from that, the fact that we have the opportunity to have one of 2 Pac-12 teams enter the college football playoff is pretty cool. We could potentially have a Heisman Trophy winner come out of the conference in its last year. That's pretty cool. Be back-to-back winners coming out of the Pac-12, which is kind of crazy to think about when you're considering dissolving conferences. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to potentially look back on this year in itself. I think it was a very fitting end to the Pac.
Ben, what's your good and bad of the last Pac-12 season?
I guess you could argue the bad, obviously, because the fact that even though we've known it's happening this whole year, after every game, we don't really take it in. Like, this is the last time we're playing this team potentially for however long, outside of like USC and maybe hopefully Oregon State and Washington, obviously. It hasn't really clicked until about now. So I definitely think that's probably the bad. I mean, the good, they mentioned many things like no division, so we have the best 2 teams in the Pac playing each other finally. I think the good of the year, honestly, Trojan fan, cover your ears. It was to see the Bruins and Trojans be absolutely mediocre, even though they're the ones who ruined the Pac to leave for the better conference, thinking they were all hot shit. And they're a mediocre team, not even playing for their own conference title. Suck it, Trojans and Bruins.
Get them, Ben. Let them know.
Yeah.
And they hated us in Washington following. They absolutely hated that.
Well, as we end this show on this note, and Ben, before we go, for those who would like to watch your content and just talk your head off about those Oregon Dawn Ducks or other stuff, where can they find you?
Once again, just like I said at the beginning of the show, and all the links down here that Jackson takes all this time to put in. You find on Twitter, Exploring with Ben. Best place, really, right here on YouTube, Exploring with Ben and Sam. It's the first one that would pop up. And then we'll have our links there for the TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, as well as email address, too, if you want to get in touch with us about anything. But yeah, it's not sports related at all, so it's a good break from the everyday grind of just talking football, especially in the long off season, which unfortunately is coming way too soon, as always. So please definitely check us out there. And then on the post-game Oregon Voice College Football channel every Tuesday for the live weekly show, and Sunday night for the After Dark show on the main channel for Mark Rogers.
It's always a fun one, that's for sure.
There's an orange pussy now.
Yep.
Well, Quack Attack, for those who would like to talk with you about Oregon football and talk to you about some of the best teams in the history of college football, where can they find you? Or better yet, talk with you about the Dem Boys and Dem Trailblazers.
Right there.
Almost.
Got it. Look. Finally. Rocky Classic on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, Sean Bryant. And yeah, it's where you can find me. Also on the Voice of College Football Oregon Live with Derek and Ben every Tuesday, 7 p.m. And post game tomorrow night is 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, 11 Central.
Well, Derek, for those who'd like to talk with you about Oregon football, where can they find you?
Yeah, man. You can find me on Twitter. Love interacting with everybody through the DMs. DMs are always open to, talk some college football, whether it be Oregon Ducks or just college football in general. But you can find me at Wait Who's Derek on Twitter. My personal Instagram, it's at DG Zelmer. I may or may not accept your follow requests. I don't use the gram a whole lot, but it's there if you want to give me a shot. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on Twitter.
There we go. It's always fun on Twitter. Instagram's all right, but I like Twitter a little more. I mean, Instagram's like the random dude that's like waving his stash of cash in front of the car, and I'm just like, come on, dude, you're wasting your money that way.
Twitter's where it's at anyway.
True. I'll have my fun on Instagram every now and again.
4 minutes left.
But I will say, you can find these guys on the Oregon football at the Voice College Football right here on this link on youtube.com/@Oregon Voice College Football. And also stay tuned for tomorrow night's post-game show at the Oregon football at the Voice College Football channel as these three guys go over the takeaways regardless of the result against Washington in the second matchup in the 2023 Pac-12 title game. Now, I must say, these are one of my go-tos for Oregon football, that's for sure. And I always look forward to hearing what they guys say. And if you want more amazing content like this, like, comment, and subscribe, and click on the notifications on youtube.com/JacksonJohnson979. This channel is at 246 subscribers away from getting 500. I appreciate you guys so much for helping me get closer to 500 subs, and I cannot do this without you. So thank you guys so much. You are helping me get there. I appreciate so much. And if you also want to hear
really bad when you're saying you've got 250 subs.
Well, I'm halfway at the monetization mark. That's for sure. But if you ever want to hear what you guys, if I ever want to hear what I gotta say, go to twitter.com/@Jackson09960335 and go to instagram.com@JacksonJohnson543908 and threads.net @JacksonJohnson543908, or you can just hear me run my mouth about what's going on in the college football world, NFL world, or just anything in general. And of course, also give little updates on my latest episodes, the Jacksonian, and what I've got planned here and there. And let me tell you, there's some big plans coming up, especially in the new year. And it's going to be a wild ride for the rest of the old year and onward to the new year. And until next time, this is Jackson Johnson. So long, everybody. And y'all stay safe and stay warm. It is cold out.
Yeehaw!